2 videos in one day? What? Grossi Posse Packer Nation, welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I am your host, Tom Grossi, and you know, I was getting lots of questions about Josh Jones, and it kind of tied in with the Clay Matthews thing, so I was like, hey, I've already recorded 2 videos today, why not a third, right? But in reality, I have to go back to real work in 8 days, and I'm just hoping that one of these videos makes me famous enough so I don't have to. So an article came out today detailing about Clay Matthews. He sat down for a one-on-one interview and explained how he got let go from Green Bay, and obviously we had talked about this when Clay Matthews was released by the Packers. He signed a pretty team-friendly deal with the Rams, and so the question that has kind of been brought up about Clay Matthews, and then we'll get to Josh Jones, is actually the same question as should we have kept both of them, or at least one of them, because right now, our pickings at inside linebacker are pretty much non-existent. If Blake Martinez goes down, our entire team is, like, in the middle is just... Like, Raven Green is going back there. Like, I heard Matt LaFleur, when his Achilles is all better, he's going to get over there too. I mean, seriously, we're going to start pulling people off of the street. Where's Kevin Bacon? Wasn't he in that movie, where the Eagles, pulled someone off? I think that was Kevin Bacon. Might have been Mark Wahlberg. I don't remember. Anyway, let's start with Clay Matthews. So in the interview, he said how he got released from Green Bay, saying, I was kind of taken aback because I thought I'd always be back there, whether it was at a cheaper price or not, and they told me there was no room for me. So obviously, we did a lot at the outside linebacker position this past offseason in getting Zadarius Smith and paying him $1 kajillion, getting Preston Smith and paying him a little bit of $1 kajillion, and then also the number 12 pick, we got Rashawn Gary. So we basically loaded up within that position. The predictions for the 53-man roster that's coming out tomorrow, I think we're going to be having a bunch of outside linebackers on the team. Now, important to note, too, before anyone blows this up and makes this clickbait, and if you see this everywhere, call him out on it. He flat out said there's no bitterness. He holds no ill feelings towards Green Bay, was just shocked and taken aback a little bit. 10 seasons, and it's kind of like, sorry, we don't have any money for you. But unfortunately, that's the NFL. I mean, we went through this exact conversation with Jordy Nelson. I got a lot of heat from that from random people who were like, Tom, you don't understand. And I'm like, I do understand. It's a business. At the end of the day, there are players, and the question comes are you effective or are you not effective, and are you affordable for the amount of effectiveness you're bringing to the team? And for Clay Matthews, it didn't add up. And so, for example, right, in 2018, only had 3.5 sacks, 29 solo tackles, 43 combined, played about 3/4 of the defensive snaps. In 2017, played 14 games, 7.5 sacks, 43 combined tackles, 27 solo, and 21 QB hits. So the numbers aren't god-awful, but obviously he was finishing up his contract with us. And right now, his deal with the Rams is super generous. It's a 2-year deal for $9.25 million base and only $5.5 million guaranteed, so they can get out of it within a year. And they've already said that Clay Matthews is going to play less than 3/4 of the defensive snaps, so he's going to be fresher on the defense. And right now, after all things considered, like releasing Mike Daniels and things like that, we have about $14 million left in the cap. So theoretically, could we have signed him? Yes. But at the same time, the guy is also 33 years old. We've already moved on from him within the outside linebacker position. And so the only reason we would have kept him was to be an inside linebacker, which he did for about 2.5 seasons, right? And he got a whole bunch of tackles. Obviously, the sacks weren't really there, but it makes sense considering he's moving to the inside. But he was effective considering when you had players go down with injury, and he was nice to kind of move around. But at the same exact time, I feel like he just would have been a Band-Aid. It would have been nice for Clay Matthews to finish out his career from a thematic story, fan-sided kind of scenario, in that it would have been nice to hold on to him for his entire career. He could have retired as a Packer, what have you. But Clay Matthews also seems very happy in LA, and that he's like having a home built 15 minutes from the Rams stadium. So everything is good with that. But again, to me, he would be like a Tramon Williams, in that he is not the future of the position. He is just a Band-Aid. And some could argue that we need a Band-Aid right now because we need somebody at that position. But hopefully Oren Burks' injury is not as bad, and he can get back relatively soon. And so with Clay Matthews, and I hope this is the last time we talk about this, he spent 10 seasons with us. He Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion. I absolutely love and adore Clay Matthews, but at this position, at inside linebacker where we would have utilized him, I just don't think it would be necessary anymore. So again, we do need somebody at that position. I'm assuming we are going to draft an inside linebacker next year. Right, Goot? Right? And then let's go on to our next guy, Josh Jones, which we did an entire video about him about 3 months ago, and 3 months ago is also when he requested a trade from the Green Bay Packers. We let him go this past Sunday at around like 8 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, just a story of wasted talent. Was a second-round pick in 2017. In 2 years, he had 12 starts in 29 games. 70% of the snaps his rookie year went down to 41%. Had 1 interception, 7 passes defended, 3 sacks, 122 combined tackles, 96 solo tackles, and that's over 2 years. Now, the problem with Josh Jones is a couple of things. One, he never fit in Pettine's defense. He came in at a weird time where there was like this changing of the guard going on within a defense. Then Mike McCarthy got fired. And so he really was completely just forgotten about last season. Last season, also in the very beginning, he was hurt for the first 3 weeks. And so the problem is, or where we would have used him, is that we went out and we got Darnell Savage, right? We drafted him, and we also got Amos from the Bears. And so we already got our safeties lined up. And so that of course didn't really sit well with him, and understandably so. And last season he went off and he was complaining on some show about how he wanted to get more playing time, which is never a good thing if you want to, because the Packers usually keep things pretty close to the chest. And once you start talking to the media and complaining about them, that's usually not a good way to go. And then requesting the trade 3 months ago, I flat out said, let him go. Even though, again, we're going to wonder what could have been. He's not, and the people who are saying that we can use him as inside linebacker, he didn't want to play in the position. And so for a guy who didn't want to be on the team, didn't want to play at the position that we would have needed him at, it kind of is like you throw your hands up and you go, what do you do at this point? He was diagnosed with like a non-football related illness involving his thyroid, but he could have taken medication for that. I don't think that's neither here nor there. I think the problem with Josh Jones is I don't want people on the Packers who don't want to be there. And again, the only position that I think would have made somewhat of sense for him is inside linebacker. He played a hybrid linebacker. Safety, he was terrible in coverage. But again, I think just he never fit in Pettine's scheme. And, he was very vocal about his problems with the team. And so I'm not saying everything was perfect on the Packers' end. They could have probably handled this a little bit better. But at the end of the day, it reflects poorly on the drafting of this guy in a second rounder, because it's essentially just wasted. And this kind of reminds me of where you have, obviously, Spriggs just got released as well. Jamon Moore is very likely not going to make the team. Obviously, he's a 4th rounder, but you look back in the past few years, obviously we have some great picks in like the later rounds and stuff like that, but our 1st and 2nd rounds have not always been great. Obviously, you guys get guys like Devontae Adams, or even later get guys like David Bakhtiari or what have you, or Jair Alexander last year. But there's we've had some misses over the years. So hopefully this is like just again a continuation of the changing of the guard. It seems like we're just removing a lot of the problem players, or a lot of the players that were left from the old regime that just do not fit into the new team that the Green Bay Packers are trying to build. And I've said this since the very beginning when Matt LaFleur was hired. This is going to be a very different Green Bay Packers team. He is assembling a team with Brian Gutekunst and Mike Pettine of the people and the players that are going to fit that mold and be able to carry out that vision. If you don't, then you leave, then you're gone. And that sounds really harsh, but that's football. They are trying to build a specific thing, and they need the personnel around them to build it. And so to answer both of these questions, it's a no. Would have been nice? Sure. It would absolutely been nice. I kind of lament Josh Jones a little bit more just because of we just drafted him 2 years ago. He was a 2nd round pick, but guy didn't want to be there. Goodbye. And then Clay Matthews, again, while he could have taken a friendly deal, with the Packers, and he offered as much. The Packers flat out said, like, we don't have enough money for you, and so they've decided to move on from him. So we need help at inside linebacker. Clay Matthews and Josh Jones aren't the answer. Let's go find the answer. And again, Raven Green is going to most likely move into like a hybrid role between safety and linebacker. We'll see how he does in that spot, and it seems like he'll do better than Josh Jones at least. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Did we release both of them too early? Let me know. You can always send me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media you see down below. You check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, and YouTube, of course. And a big shout out and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. Thank you for your continued support. We'll have the 53-man roster prediction tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. I am Tom Grossi, and as always, go Pack Go.